here we go. I've done the wiring in the last video. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. And I have been marking out where I need to put the graphics, because to get these exhaust stacks and the air cleaners on, I'm going to have to apply some of the stickers. I prefer to leave stickers till the last because I kind of think it's icing on the cake. Right, so okay, we need to make up the air cleaners, the mirrors and the exhaust stacks. The exhaust stacks are really nothing really to make up, because the exhaust stacks are like this. Now do be careful, because there is a left and a right. As you can see, the holes are offset. Did have a little discussion with somebody, said that they are universal, they'll go on either way around, but no, they won't. They are just offset, as you can see there. So they are left hand and right handed. So I'm just going to fold this towel up, put it there. We don't need the MFE book now, well, not for a while. So I'm going to go through step 43 right now. And I've just dropped something on the floor, and we'll bring in the mirrors. And that was a very small bolt, so I'll just get one out of there for now. So the mirror, now when you pull these off the part sprue, you can see these two little nubs where it was held on to the part sprue, so we make sure that goes on the inside. So when this is mounted to the truck, it's not going to be facing outwards. So make sure that is facing that way. And then simply with the tweezers, just lay these brackets on there, just like that. I'll do it left-handed so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Just get one started. Get the other one started. That is just to get them started. I'm going way out of shot here. So they are started. So switch hands. So just do them up. Not all the way, until you've got them all thereabouts. Again, there's no great weight on these, so no need to over tighten them and strip out the plastic, because that would be annoying. That is like so. A little bit of universal glue. Just dab it on those 4 end things and on those 2 middle ones, and then very carefully we just drop that in there, and I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure with the tweezers, and that is 1 mirror. Rub that fingerprint off, not too hard, and that is 1 mirror. And because there are 2 sides to the truck, we make 2. So I'm going to come around this way slightly, get rid of the zip ties, don't need those. So I've done the mirrors, and now we need to make the air cleaner, which is quite easy, just making this up. The air cleaner is step 46. And that's 2 little pieces of plastic. Let me tilt you down a little bit because you can't see anything. Doing this bit here, and before we make it up, I'm going to grab my nail thing. Little like a nail file thing, and this bit here, this elbow, I just need to rough that up because we're going to be painting that black. Again, make sure your hands are clean because we don't want to get fingerprints all over this. So just get that roughed up so it just takes the shine off, and then we need to do the same with this. But this one's obviously the inside elbow, so it doesn't take much. And you can paint this gloss black as if it's a highly polished thing, if it's a show rig. Yeah, this is moving on truck, so I'm going to do it flat. And then in this part here we need to put this bolt here, which is a silver hex bolt with a posi drive head. I'll just drop that through there like that, and we need to put this in here, and that fits through, not that way, it's that way. So on this cap here we have a raised round section, and on this one here we have another raised round section. That larger raised section goes downwards, so that fits in there like that, and then we can put those two halves together, so that just raises up like so, and then we can drop these two tapping screws straight in there and just buzz them in. Again, don't have to do too tight, just until it stops, and that's it. Put the end cap on there, and then wind that in just until it stops. Careful you don't slip on your screwdriver. It is always better to have a good quality screwdriver, one that's going to fit in the heads of the screws and not jump out of the screws, scratch your chrome and ruin things. That's good enough for me. XF1, X being black, X1 being black, and XF being flat. XF1. Do get quite through quite a lot of this, and then with the brush, very gently. Just take your time and don't rush. And if painting isn't your thing and you haven't got a steady hand, there's absolutely no problems with you asking somebody to help you out with it. I can't paint cabs. I can, but I prefer to get somebody to paint it for me. By the time I've bought the paint myself, the cost of actually painting it myself is probably about £5 cheaper than having it done professionally and having a perfect paintwork. So there is the little air cleaner. And of course we need two. A left and a right. So yeah, once they've both dried, they will be almost the same. Right, let's zoom back out. And what else do we need for this truck? We need the grill. We need a grill. So these two parts can go up there. And we need a Kenworth grill because this is a Kenworth. And we have this. Just want to show you, I also have this. Right, it's got milling lines in it, but yeah, because I did have this idea one day to make myself a Peterbilt. It's got a little Peterbilt there from Garden Trucking to stick on there. and I have a couple of these. Got loads of Peterbilt stuff actually, and I was gonna make myself a Pete. Got some more hood side decals made out of metal and embossed. They are really quite amazing little badges from Garden Trucking, which is in Mesa, Arizona. And yeah, we shall see one day. The headlight things all that. So that is a future project. I might use these headlights for the 281 from the Spielberg movie Duel, and just get rid of that. I might sell it. So we need the grille, and we need the mesh. Let's get that bag open, because all the bright work is going on the truck, and we're going to fit the cab in this episode and bolt it on, never to be removed again. So I'll just move everything out of the way, because I'm going to unfold the towel, because we're going to be jumping around with this all over the place. So first things first, let's get the grille on, and make sure you get it the right way up, not like me. So that just fits in there like that. Amazing piece of machinery on this, almost exact. So those top two holes, they just need to be trimmed out a little bit, because I don't think on the back of that, it is almost the same. And there's nothing that goes in these holes, so I don't know what they're for. Well, this one and this one. We shall fit it. Aha! There is actually these holes that bolts on to those, and they have their own bolts that hold it on. So I'm just going to snip those out a bit, because this is an aftermarket grill, and which obviously it's not. It might need that little adjustment. Down a little bit more. Always be careful how much you take out, because you can always take out more, but you can't put it back. Never any rush, so just take your time. Wow, needs a little bit more. And cool. That's good enough for me. Right, where's my screwdriver? Where's my screws and bolts? Just here. So come on, get me grip. Yeah, that put up a fight. Right, bolt and a washer. Good, these are putting up a fight. And then they are putting up a fight, these little bolts. I understand that some people have slightly bigger fingers, but we can all do this if we just take our time. That's really starting to annoy now. I'm getting hungry. And I'm losing concentration, so luckily the fiddly bits are no swearing. If you want to swear, you swear. So now that is done. So exactly the same process with the stock grill. These just hold in that mesh, stop it from falling backwards into the cab, and that is the inside of the grill. That's step 45, if I haven't already put the thing up. So I'm going to need some screws, but in the book it says BD. Where are they? BD2s, which are 15mm, but they're designed to go through the light bucket, and that's not going to be needed on this. So I'm just going to use some 6mm BF 6mm, and because I'm not holding the light buckets in, I'm not going to use all 5 holes. Don't need to do them up fully, because we need to be able to get to all of the holes before we whiz them together. That one's going to be good. So that is now bolted in, and that was step 47. I know we're slightly going out of sync with the steps, and then just knit them up, and there we have the grill fitted. Now it's coming along. So I'm just going to lift up a little bit. Now we get to the interesting part, because we need, in fact what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit the dashboard first. because the stacks yeah, let me get the dashboard. And I've already painted it. Paint it a colour of your choice. So what we'll do is we'll just lift that up, get that up there, and just put that on there, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out these decals here, and the decals are shown on steps 42. Right, just shows you where they all go. But when fitting the dashboard, it tells you just here where they go. There's a little sticker here, a little sticker there, a little sticker there. And I'm going to use my rather poor excuse of an X-Acto knife. And roughly, I'll say roughly, I'm going to roughly cut these out, and then I'm going to get in there with a pair of scissors. I don't need the rest just now. So with these, they're not transfers, they're not water slide, they're actually stickers, and they're actually don't know if you can see the reflection, they're actually laminated. So it's nothing complicated about them, it's just a sticker. And I've just cut right up to the very edge of those, right up to the edge of those. Some people like to make illuminated dashboards. Well, I think they look rather cool when you look through the driver's window and it's all lit up. Seen those Arduino ones where they actually have a real dashboard, an LCD dashboard. Never gone for that amount of detail. I like to run my trucks, not look at them, which is quite funny because when I run the trucks, my trucks, I'm looking where I'm going. So I don't exactly look at the truck, and I don't look at this as I'm building it because I'm just concentrating on that area, that focus on that particular thing that I'm working on. And when I was at a club, I was asked by a very good friend of mine if he could drive one of my trucks on the layout. And I'd seen his driving with one of his own trucks, and of course I trusted him, and I said, yeah, fine, blah blah blah. And I stood and watched my truck going around the layout, and I watched my truck, and I see more of the details, things that I'd not seen before, because I'm actually concentrating on what it is I'm doing. So get rid of those over there. Bring the towel back on. And the dashboard. The dashboard is in section 50. It's just a dashboard, steering column and steering wheel. Now I've already gone ahead and assembled it because it is simply paint the dashboard, paint the steering column and paint the steering wheel. Now I've gone on that and I've put a green steering wheel with a silver chrome spokes, and I've detailed these turn signal stalk, wiper stalks with a little bit of black on the end. So yeah, pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to refer to the sticker book, and I don't need to because it's always going to be. See that? All I did was just stroke that, grab it with a pair of tweezers. If I grab it with the right side, I can put that on just there. And then pull it from there. Don't know why I didn't do this. And if I just like the brown effect because I think it kind of looks like a wooden dashboard. That's why I did that. But yeah, if you want to paint yours silver, then by all means paint yours silver. No restrictions as to what colours you can and cannot paint your dashboard. But yeah, I like. I used to have a car with a wooden dashboard, which was rather pleasant actually. And then that one. And then this one, I assume these are air vents. And if I use my tweezers, I might be able to see where the middle is. And that looks come on. It's slow going, these details. So now it's starting to come together. Look at that. I do like that. Yeah, kind of like a walnuts a little bit lighter than that. So yeah, really quite impressed with that. And that simply fits downwards into there and held in by two BB3s, which will be those bad boys. That one and that one. And then my posi drive screwdriver decides to take a walk. I'll get that one in there. And then that one. And there. Am I? No. not too tight, it's not holding any great weight, and there we have a dashboard. Fantastic. I do love these things, I really do. I don't paint the inside of my bodies because I've never noticed them. So, right, what we're having next, I'm going to have to put on these graphics because I need to get it correct around here. Am I zoomed in or out? No, I'm okay. So I test fitted my graphics and then marked it out with this masking tape. So this line here, the bottom side, needs to be where the bottom of this stripe goes. So I'm going to count from this hole, it's 1, 2. So the bottom of the line needs to be, yeah, that's right, the bottom of the line needs to be there. I do have on my wall a reference picture of what I'm doing, right? That is just to keep me motivated, and that is to make sure that I am doing everything right. So I'm going to count up here gaps in the hinge, and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So halfway through the 7th hinge is where the bottom is going to be, and it's just going to be just above this second rivet, above this hole. So how far is that going to come? That's going to come up to there. So this sticker here needs to go just there, and then around the back of the cab. So what I'm going to do is cut off that end and that end. There's no upside and downside to these. These graphics I have mentioned in a previous video. They are done for me to my measurements to fit the King Hauler by RC Truck Graphics, and what a fantastic job is done. Really needed them desperately, and then it turns out that my project was delayed slightly, so nonetheless he absolutely pulled it out of the bag, and I will leave a link to his Facebook page down there in the bottom in the description. So these come with a top, so basically it holds all the graphics together, and the bottom part has less adhesive contact than the top part, and then the bottom of the sticker itself, is very tacky. So now that is ready to go on, I'm going to count up. I'm going out of shot, but don't worry about it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need to be just there, and that one. So I'm going to hold right on the very end, because the very end is going to be cut off. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that can go just there and just there. So I'm going to contact that there because I'm happy. And then I'm going to use the edge of my nail. I'm just going to rub that in to those corners, and then I'm just going to run that down that way into there, and then I'm going to flick this end up and use the edge of my tweezers to, remember this is covered with a protective tape, so I'm not actually on the graphic. Rub that right into the corner and right into the corner of that. This might need a little bit of heat afterwards, just to get that right into there. And careful that you don't go and you can't see shit. Pardon my French. Yeah, have a steady hand. I'm using my little finger here as a bit of a rest, and then round the back. Now, if you look in the Tamiya manual, it says that if you don't split the cab off from the sleeper, it says if you get one of these parts sprues and you just pick a T-piece, you know, a relatively smooth one, and just cut it off like this, 1/4 of an inch either side, like that, and you end up with a little T-piece, and that you can use to push your graphics in between the sleeper and your cab, and it comes in really handy. It does show you in the manual. Let me have a quick, yes, I'm going to have a look. I'm going to flash that up there now. So yeah, it's a very good top tip, and then get that right into the corner. Remember, you're not really going to see this bit, and then right on the edge there, right on the edge. And where's my there's my suicide blade. And that's just simple as that. Now I'm going to stick that on there in case I need it. Just pushing that into there, and then I'm going to remove, I don't know what this is called. I think Ian Sparks told me what it was on one of his videos. I know it's called weeding, when you pull out all the bits and pieces from the lettering after the cutter has finished cutting. Weeding, never would have thought. So yeah, very good that. And just going to rub that into there so it adheres. I'm only using the edge of my nail. Might have to press that in with my nail. Don't want to scratch the paint. I might heat that up with a hairdryer. And then that goes on there. Got the Sunny Pruitt on there, and then weight of the vehicle on there. So I'm putting the stickers on now because I don't want to be flipping this around with the mirrors hanging off, the stacks hanging off and the air cleaners hanging off, because as soon as we've put those on, and of course the side windows, we are going to be good to go. The water method, the water's soapy water when you're applying graphics, is something that you can consider when applying the graphic, or you can just pull off, oops, that's bringing that top section off. Don't want to apply them separately. Well, so here we go. That needs to be level with there, like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold that one over like that, so I can thumb that one down just there, and then I can make sure that that gap between them is just about level like that, and then I can just rub that there like so, and then pull that and that's not going to crease up. See that? The tack between this graphic and that is really quite minimal. So while the backing is still on there, I hope Ian Sparks leaves a comment on this and tells me what this clear stuff's called, because he has his own cutter and he does his own graphics. Yeah, I've thought about doing it myself, but nah, not when you've got Andrew Shaw of RC Truck Graphics doing things like this. There's the hood joint here that we're just going to work our way in. Get that. And that just pushes in there like that. And there is a round hole here, so whilst that is still attached to the backing tape, what I will do is you're not really going to see this, but what I go to do now is get my, I've got a scalpel somewhere, but I can't remember where it is. And it's not like me to lose stuff. So that's in there. That's in there. Another one just there. Remember, this is going to be behind the air cleaner. So now I can pull off this tape, this clear tape, let me get the tweezers. can mould it around this hood joint here. And then with the back of my nail, stick that on there. That might need a little bit of heat, which I will apply later on. So now all I've done with these graphics here is I've just cut them, because I am going to fit this air cleaner, and it's just a simple single bolt that we put in, and I'm just going to push that in there, so it's actually going to hold whatever vinyl has gone in there, and that is held on from the inside with a nut out of A parts bag. Am I going too far apart of the way? Yes, I am. And because I can't get my driver in there, the old trusty Tamiya box spanner, it might help if I use the right end, and then just knit that up, and we can see that that just fits in there, and that's held in quite strongly, and that's worked out quite well. I was going to paint these and just leave the chrome straps, but I have seen an image on the internet where it's some guys made a modern take on this, and the air cleaner is all chromed. So right, I'm going to get my exhaust stack, and if we look at the orientation of these, remember they are left and right handed, we've got Q12 and Q8, and we can see if we hold it this way up that the exhaust fits on like this. So the exhaust is slightly further back, or it'd be here. So it needs to be slightly further back, and those screws are, I'm going to get rid of that before I scratch my truck. Right, couple of long bolts for this, which is very easy, especially if you've got the sleeper cab off, because you can just get in behind there, and not so much if you have a wiring loom down there. So let me get my screwdriver and whiz that one in. Not too tight. Let me get that on there. Hold that there. Stick them. Right, now that's on, we just put a little bit of weight on them. Excellent. Now we need the mirror, and the curved part of the mirror, the curved part of the arm, goes towards the bottom. And somewhere in your parts you will find on one of your sprues It usually falls off in the packaging. One of these, and this is just a finger spanner, and that's ideal for getting in on these. So we push those through there, and I've just realised something, that I might not be able to get into that one because it's behind the steering wheel, so I might just buzz those two screws out. And I need, where are they, in the sea bag, 1, 2 of those tiny nuts, and I also need a window. In fact, before I do move on, yeah, point to note, remember, don't put the dashboard in. It's as exciting as you get. Just one step ahead of myself, but no big deal. And that has given us loads more room. So, king hauler window. Before I fit it, actually, I'll just show you. I'll show you on the other side, on the other one. That fits in there. Then get the nut on there. I'll just get it started. That's that one. And then I can use this little tool that's on one of the part sprues just to whiz that in. And that is, what stage is that? That's on 54, stage 54. I'll put that in there, put the nut in the end of there, and get right up in there. And then we can finger tighten that one in. Have a good grip on it, and then give it a good. So that is just here, and up here is the mirrors. All very good. So now we are starting to look something like. Give me 2 minutes, I'll fit everything on the other side and I will be back. Right then people, the cab is 99% done. The only things that I need to put on is when it's all together. I don't need to put them on at this point because I don't want to be knocking it and I don't want to be breaking anything. What's on there now needs to be on there. So things like the windshield wipers, the air horns and the heat shields for the stacks with the stack tops, they can go on afterwards. Don't want to be knocking them about. The lenses for the headlights, and obviously the rest of the graphics on here. So what we're going to do now is fit this to the chassis and bolt it on permanently. So let's bring that back in. Now I'm not going to be rolling around. I'll take the towel away. Just give that a shake off in case there's any nuts and bolts on it that I need, and there was 2. And they were in parts bag C, I think. Yeah. So let's move this around this way, get rid of the glue. Don't need that for the moment. The only thing we need to glue on is the windshield visor. Let's get rid of these tubs. So now we've got to try and get all that under the floor, and yeah, good luck with that. What I might do actually is put that just there so it's resting on the bottom of the exhaust. How am I going to do this? Because that goes behind the seat. That goes behind the seat because it comes down the back of this side of the cab. It goes down the back of this seat, around the back, and then underneath. So I think to make things easier for me, I am going to slacken that floor off. Because it's, I'll tell you what I will do before I move forward, stick that on before it's too late. So I'll need to put that over where it should be going, and then with my knife I'm just gonna hold that, score a line where that needs to go. Remember, this is just printer paper, inkjet printer, cost me £30, which is what, about $50, 50 USD. How far down does that need to go? It needs to go down a little bit more. I'm going to get rid of the white across the top. Good having scissors when you can cut that fine. My stomach is rumbling, and it is nearly 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've only had breakfast. So, right, now I can finish whizzing that off. Just get on with it. That's going to give me enough room, so peel this . Yeah, I decided to leave the background grey on this so it didn't jump out at you as stark colour. press them over the screws. They'll be hidden behind the seat, so I'll not notice those too much. This is just paper. And that is on. Right, there's a screw that I heard pop out, it's just there. Right then, let's move this up so the bumper just hooks under the front of the fenders, and that should give us enough room to work. Right, shut up and get on with it. Always go for the longest ones first, obviously. It is fiddly. I can see why wiring isn't a favourite of everyone's. Some people find it therapeutic. Some people just find it annoying. That's that one through, and the last one is the indicators. And headlights. Come on, come on, come on. You can do it. There we go. There she blows. And that's the last one through. Now we need to get that over there. Make sure that this exhaust stack, it has to go back slightly to drop down over the floor pan, and once it does, what am I doing? I need to connect the motor. BRB. Getting a little bit ahead of myself there, so what I'll do is cut a piece of servo tape, move that up there out of the way, because we're going to fit this onto the back of the sleeper wall. So that's in there just nicely. Nearly forgot to hook the motor up, then I would have had to have taken the cab off. So I'm going to look at the size of these cables. That's just, I don't know where they're expecting us to put that. So I'm going to adhere this onto the back of that wall. And that will be going just there, about 1/4 of an inch from the side and 1/4 of an inch from the top. that's just servo tape, which is available just about anywhere. And then these two go down underneath that sleeper floor. Remember, the yellow wire is positive and the green wire is negative. And make sure we don't trap any of these wires, because those wires go all the way underneath, down into the bottom, and then they tuck just nicely down the side. Funny noise that. So I'm just going to put that over there and balance that quite precariously with a little support from a bottle. So I said the green wire was the positive, so that obviously goes to red. And I'm not going to go down the side of the transmission with this one, because it's a component that may need to be changed at some point. So that will be happy just to go down the side of the thing. I'm wondering whether just to go under the floor. So after a few choice words, here we are. Right, that's gone through there. I'll just show you close up what I've done. All I did was take this screw out here and this screw out just here, so I could lift up this floor just enough to, these wires were connected here, this side of this bracket, and then I just lifted this up and pushed that under there. Now we have these wires. This is blue and black one is for the vibration motor J29, which is now being used as a fan. And if I can find this spiral wrap, what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm just going to use this spiral wrap to just wrap those motor wires together. I'm starving. It is now just gone 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I still haven't eaten since breakfast. I need to lose a bit of this weight that I've put on during lockdown. Not had many opportunities to exercise because I work in between training and health and safety. So we've had a lot of COVID measures that was put in place, and me and my colleagues in the training department have been insanely busy and trying to keep business running as normal. Yeah, it's been 5 months since I had any time off, so this has been a very well deserved break, although I am checking my emails and replying if necessary, but not at work. Right, can you see that? Just a little bit of spiral wrap there. It's not going to be really seen once the cab is down on there. So that can now come across very gently. Very gently, we don't want to pull anything or catch anything. Make sure we don't catch my new fangled fan. So we zoomed out so we can see what the heck we're doing. Right, so that needs to go slightly back. So the exhaust stack returns go underneath the cab floor. And I've just realised that fitting the fan motor, that's it, just give me that little bit of headache. Right, where is that? It's all very fiddly, but do not rush. Why won't that go down? It is going down, but that's down there. I just need to make sure the front is sitting correctly, and it's not, because that little bit of wiring loom is just sitting up underneath that. So I'm going really rubbish here on the camera, so let me just push that up the other side of that beam. That's better. That's better. Now we're stuck on something. There we go. It was almost persuaded. Come on, something is stopping you. There we go. It fits. It fits. And that is good enough for me. I'm going to use some black Ep15s. Just wanted to make sure they are just 6mm screws, bolts, and there's another one somewhere. This video is going to be huge. Oop. Pull the bloody cab up. So just find that bolt hole. Just back a little bit. Why isn't it going in? Because it's just being awkward. Tank end cap's fallen off again. I did say they don't usually fall off, so I'm going to put a little bit of Yoo-hoo glue behind that. Right, that's that one. One just underneath the air cleaner. And that has gone in. Turn that around. One there, one there. You're going to be so bored watching me do all this. Just a little bit of leverage. And I can just knit them up because I'm confident that I don't have to take that cab off again. And imagine if this was all in one piece with the sleeper attached to it. That would be crazy to get all that in. So now, the final part of this episode is to pull all of these wires up through there and bolt that back down to there. So I'll be 2 seconds. Right then, all I've done is jiggled around with this and get the wires in. It's took me about 15 minutes, and rather bore you with that, I just had a break, and yeah, this is what we are left with. Quite simply, the MFC is stuck straight up there, and those motor wires are right in the back corner, right down there. So they will get bundled up from there. This is the main power cable. I'll zoom out a little bit. So these are the plugs, J4, 5, 6 and 7, that hooks into the receiver. Now, wire identification, we've got the green and black, that is J12, that's for the fifth wheel coupler. We have, with the brown and yellow and the 3 black and yellow, that is for the roof lights and speed indicator lights, if you want to call them that. This grey wire, a single grey wire with the white wire, is that roof interior light. We have the main control cables coming out of that large loom there, and then we have 1, 2, 3 servo cables. I know that the one without the extension is this fifth wheel servo, and then it's just going to be a case of guess which one the steering servo and guess which one the gear shift servo, which is quite simply just plug those in. Doesn't matter. So that's those two, and then we have this one here, and because we have the 2 black and white, we know that those are the 2 headlights, and these 2 yellow and green are the front turn signals on the fenders, and the single black one, what's that one for? Right, we know the blue one, J29, is for the new repurposed vibration motor into the fan, and we know this one with the red is the rear. So we've got this one is the tail lights, this one is the backup lights because it's got a white wire, and these 2 blue and yellow is the left and right in the rear bumper. Trying to think, what is that one for? Single black wire. Come on, answers on a postcard. All this will be going down here. It will fit behind the battery tray once everything's plugged in, and I'm just going to get the sleeper put on there. So we've got an idea of what that's going to look like. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the truck almost done. I'm just going to screen that. That's just taking a screen capture of that, because that is looking fantastic. So anyway, guys and gals, thanks for putting up with me on this one. If you like what you've seen, give it a thumbs up, and like, and you know, comment, tell me what you think. And if you think somebody's going to be helpful with this video, give it a share. Until next time, when we start wiring in the MFC, we will be good to go, and we shall see some life in it. So until then, goodbye.